During the filming of Rocky IV, Sylvester Stallone was benching heavy. Something tore. He reportedly ended up hospitalized, with a pectoral tendon injury serious enough that doctors warned it could have ended his ability to keep performing physically demanding roles altogether. From believing a training lie that the entire fitness industry was still selling as gospel. That single injury is the most public example, but it wasn't isolated. Stallone has openly discussed several specific beliefs he held about training that, in hindsight, actively worked against him. Today we're breaking down all 5 of those lies, because every single one of these lies is still being repeated to men over 40 in gyms right now today by trainers and influencers who've never once had to survive the consequences of getting it wrong. Before we get into lie number 1, if you want the unfiltered version of how legends actually built their bodies, mistakes included, subscribe now. This channel doesn't just show the highlight reel. Lie 1. More weight always means more muscle. This is the belief that directly led to the Rocky IV bench press injury. The logic seemed bulletproof at the time. Heavier weight equals a stronger stimulus equals more growth. It's one of the oldest, most persistent lies in the entire fitness industry. Here's what that logic completely ignores. Tendons and connective tissue adapt to heavy loading far more slowly than muscle tissue does. Your muscle can genuinely get strong enough to move a weight your tendons haven't actually finished reinforcing themselves to handle safely. Push that gap far enough, under enough fatigue, and something eventually gives. Exactly what reportedly happened on that set. The corrected version of this principle, progressive overload still matters enormously, but it has to be paired with genuine attention to connective tissue readiness. For a man over 40 specifically, this lie carries even more weight than it did for Stallone in his 30s during that original injury. Tendon and connective tissue recovery capacity genuinely slows further with age. Lie 2. Push through the pain. That's what separates you. A classic piece of old-school training culture, and one of the most dangerous lies on this entire list. The idea that any discomfort during training is simply weakness talking, and that real toughness means training straight through it regardless of what your body is actually signaling. Muscular fatigue and joint pain are not the same signal, and treating them identically is exactly how minor, manageable issues quietly become career-threatening ones. Stallone has spoken about training through injuries earlier in his career that, looking back, clearly needed to be addressed rather than pushed past. The shift in his later approach, the one that let him build an arguably more impressive physique in his late 50s than he had in his 30s, specifically involved learning to distinguish between the two signals instead of treating every form of discomfort as an obstacle to simply grind through. A practical way to actually apply this distinction. Muscular fatigue tends to feel like a dull, generalized burn that eases noticeably once you stop the set. Joint or tendon pain tends to feel sharper, more localized, and often doesn't ease much at all once the set ends. Sometimes it actually gets more noticeable afterward. Learning that difference, and actually respecting it, is the entire skill this lie prevents most men from ever developing. This next lie is genuinely the one that quietly ends more careers and more ordinary gym routines than any of the others combined. So if this is landing for you, subscribe now, and comment which of these 5 lies you've personally believed at some point. Lie 3. Heavy training has to happen year-round, no off-season. The belief that any planned reduction in training intensity is essentially quitting. This lie doesn't cause one dramatic injury the way the first 2 can. It causes a slow, cumulative breakdown across years, which in some ways makes it more dangerous, not less. Joints and connective tissue need genuine, planned, lower-intensity periods to fully recover and reinforce themselves between hard training blocks. A structured version of this fix doesn't have to mean months of easy training. It can be as simple as one deliberately lighter week, roughly every 4 to 6 weeks, where intensity drops noticeably, even if you're still showing up and training regularly. Lie 4. Extreme cutting is safe as long as you're disciplined enough. Hollywood has a long, well-documented history of extreme, rapid depletion protocols before filming. Severe calorie restriction combined with aggressive water manipulation, all compressed into the final days before a shirtless scene. The lie here is that sheer discipline and willpower can make an inherently risky protocol completely safe, as long as you're mentally tough enough to execute it properly. Severe, rapid depletion protocols carry real physiological risk. The corrected approach Stallone has since publicly described favoring involves a much longer, more gradual cutting timeline. For the average man over 40, this lie usually shows up in a smaller, less dramatic form. The pre-vacation crash diet, the week of near starvation before an event, the belief that willpower alone makes an aggressive restriction genuinely safe. Lie 5. Rest days are for people who aren't serious. The final lie, and in many ways the one underlying all the others on this list. The belief that genuine rest, full, deliberate recovery days, real sleep prioritization, is somehow optional for anyone who's actually serious about their physique. treating sleep and recovery as genuine training inputs, not optional extras squeezed in if time allows, is reportedly one of the central reasons his physique in his late 50s and 60s measurably outperformed the version of himself training recklessly hard in his 30s. If you want the full, corrected version of all 5 of these principles, broken into an actual weekly plan you can follow starting this week, subscribe now so you catch it, and tell me in the comments which one of these 5 lies you're personally going to stop believing starting today. Here's the part worth sitting with. None of these 5 lies came from a place of laziness or lack of discipline. Every single one of them came from someone trying exceptionally hard, using the information the entire industry was confidently selling as correct at the time. That's exactly what makes them dangerous. And that's really the reason this comparison matters for you specifically, not just as an interesting piece of Hollywood history. Every single one of these 5 lies is still being repeated, right now, in gyms and on fitness accounts targeting men over 40 specifically, often by people who've never had to survive the version of consequences Stallone actually experienced firsthand. You get to skip the hospitalization and just take the lesson. 5 lies. The information that could have saved him a hospitalization and years of unnecessary joint damage exists right now, for free, for every man over 40 willing to actually learn from someone else's expensive mistakes instead of repeating them personally.